Billionaire's daughter points to a poor boy in the park and says, "He was in the tummy with me." The billionaire father is speechless. The afternoon was perfect for the park. Thomas adjusted the knot in his tie before taking it off completely, tucking it into his suit jacket pocket. Even on weekends, he still carried his office habits. At 32, he had achieved everything he had ever wanted: a thriving company, a house in the best neighborhood in the city, and most importantly, Olivia. "Daddy, are you coming to play on the swings with me?" His daughter's sweet voice brought him back to the present moment. Olivia ran ahead, her blonde hair bouncing in the wind. Her light blue eyes shone with joy. They always shone when they were together. It was impossible to look at her and not smile. "Of course, Princess, but first, give me a moment to breathe." Thomas laughed, watching his daughter already climbing the playground equipment with the typical agility of a 5-year-old. The park was busy for a Saturday. Entire families occupied the benches. Children ran from one side to the other, and the sound of laughter filled the air. He settled on a nearby bench from where he could see Olivia perfectly. These were his favorite moments. During the week, between meetings and business trips, he sometimes felt like he was missing important pieces of her childhood. That's why weekends were sacred. "Daddy, look how high I'm swinging." "Be careful not to fly away, Olivia," she laughed, throwing her head back. Thomas smiled, but something tightened in his chest. She was growing up so fast. It seemed like just yesterday she was a baby in his arms, and now she had her own opinions about everything, from what clothes to wear to which color paint was best for horses. The phone vibrated in his pocket. A work message. Thomas hesitated, then decided to ignore it. Nothing was more important than this time with Olivia. "Can I go on the slide now?" "You can, but stay where I can see you." Olivia jumped off the swing with an agility that made Thomas hold his breath for a second. She ran towards the slide, passing groups of children playing in the sand. That's when Thomas saw her stop. Olivia stood motionless in the middle of the path, as if something had suddenly caught her attention. She turned her head to the side, focusing on something Thomas couldn't yet see. "Olivia, is everything okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she began to walk slowly towards the smaller slide, the one that was a bit set apart from the other toys. Thomas stood up, trying to see what had captured his daughter's attention so completely. There was a boy, alone. He couldn't have been more than 5, maybe the same age as Olivia. He was playing on the slide shyly, climbing up slowly and sliding down carefully, as if he didn't want to draw attention. His clothes were simple, a faded blue t-shirt and jeans with dirt stains on the knees. Thomas looked around, searching for the boy's parents, but he didn't see anyone who seemed to be watching him. Olivia got closer. The boy noticed her and stopped at the top of the slide, watching her with curiosity. Thomas couldn't hear what they were saying from that distance, but he saw that Olivia had started a conversation. She pointed to herself, then to the boy, making animated gestures with her hands. The boy smiled. It was in that moment that Thomas felt something strange. Even from afar, there was something familiar in that smile, something that made his heart race for no apparent reason. Olivia came running back towards him, her eyes shining in a different way. It wasn't just joy, there was something more, a kind of recognition, as if she had discovered something important. "Daddy," she stopped in front of him, out of breath. "Did you see the boy on the slide?" "I did. He seems to be alone. Did you talk to him?" Olivia nodded, but her behavior was different. She looked over her shoulder, towards the boy, then back at her father. "Daddy, he was in the tummy with me." The words came out so naturally that it took Thomas a few seconds to process what he had heard. "What did you say?" "The boy. He was in Mommy's tummy with me before we were born." Thomas felt the world stop for a moment. Olivia continued to look at him with that serious expression that sometimes appeared when she said something she considered very important. "Olivia, what do you mean by that?" "I remember, Daddy. We were together in there. He's my brother." Thomas swallowed hard. Children said strange things sometimes. They imagined stories, created invisible friends, invented memories that didn't exist. But there was something in Olivia's certainty that made him uncomfortable. "Honey, are you sure about what you're saying?" I'm sure. Can I go talk to him again? Thomas looked towards the slide. The boy was still there, now sliding down slowly. When he reached the bottom, he lifted his head, and for a moment their eyes met. The impact was instantaneous. The boy's eyes were light blue, exactly like Olivia's. The same shade, the same sparkle. The shape of his face was similar to hers, the same delicate features, the same curious expression. His hair was blonde like Olivia's, just messier from the wind. And when the boy smiled again, Thomas felt a shiver. It was like looking at a male version of Olivia. The resemblance was striking, almost as if they were... Olivia, wait here. Thomas started walking towards the slide, his heart beating erratically. He needed to see that boy up close. He needed to be sure his mind wasn't playing tricks on him. But when he was just a few feet away, the boy saw him approaching. The smile vanished from the small face. The blue eyes widened, and Thomas saw something that surprised him. Fear. The boy quickly got off the equipment and started to run. Wait, I just want to talk. But the boy didn't stop. He ran among the trees that lined the park, disappearing into the vegetation before Thomas could reach him. Thomas stood where he was, breathing heavily. He looked around, searching for any sign of the boy, but he had vanished completely. Daddy! Olivia had come closer and was now holding his hand. Why did he run away? Thomas didn't know what to say. He knelt down to be at his daughter's level, trying to organize his thoughts. I don't know, Princess. Maybe he's shy. He's not shy. He's scared. Olivia's observation hit him like a punch. She was right. What he had seen in the boy's eyes wasn't shyness, it was pure fear. Scared of what? I don't know. Olivia shrugged, but she kept looking towards the trees. But I remember him, Daddy. I remember us together. Thomas stood up slowly, still processing everything that had happened. Olivia's sentence echoed in his mind. He was in the tummy with me. It was impossible. Olivia was an only child. He had been present throughout his wife's pregnancy, had attended every doctor's appointment. There was never any mention of twins. But then why did that boy look so much like them? And why, even now, couldn't Thomas shake the feeling that there was something deeply familiar in those blue eyes? Let's go home, Olivia. Already, but I wanted to play a little more. We'll come back tomorrow, okay? On the way home, Thomas drove on autopilot, lost in thought. Olivia hummed in the back seat, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But for Thomas, everything had changed. The sentence kept echoing. He was in the tummy with me. And those blue eyes, so much like his daughter's, so much like his own, wouldn't leave his mind. Thomas tossed in bed for the 10th time. The digital clock read 2:47 a.m., its red numbers cutting through the darkness of the room. Olivia was sleeping peacefully in the next room. He had checked on her 3 times in the last 2 hours, but sleep just wouldn't come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those blue eyes. The boy's face in the park. The absolute certainty in Olivia's voice. He was in the tummy with me. Thomas got up and walked to the window. The street was silent, only the streetlights illuminating the empty sidewalk. He rested his forehead against the cold glass, trying to organize the thoughts jumbling in his mind. 5 years. 5 years since Sarah had died, leaving him alone to raise Olivia. 5 years of trying to be both a father and a mother, building a new life on the pieces of the old one. And now this. Thomas closed his eyes, but instead of darkness, a memory came, as clear as if it had happened yesterday. The hospital. Sarah was in her 9th month, and they were so young. He was 27, working 3 different jobs just to pay the basic bills. They lived in a small apartment downtown, with thin walls and noisy neighbors, but they were happy, eager to meet the baby that was on its way. In the early hours of March 15th, Sarah woke up with pains. Thomas, I think it's time. He still remembered the rush. They grabbed the bag that had been packed for 2 weeks and ran to the old car that barely started on cold mornings. Throughout the drive, Thomas held his wife's hand, feeling the contractions through her grip. Everything's going to be okay, he repeated, more to himself than to her. The county hospital was crowded. Thomas remembered the waiting room with blue plastic chairs, the smell of disinfectant that clung to his clothes, the constant noise of people coming and going through the hallways. But when they reached the maternity ward, something changed. Sarah was quickly taken into a room, and Thomas was left outside, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. The hours passed. A nurse would appear from time to time, always with the same answer. "Not yet, sir, be patient." That's when he heard the screams. Thomas stopped in the middle of the hallway, his blood running cold. They weren't the normal screams of labor pain. It was something different, desperate. "Sarah!" He tried to enter the room, but two nurses stopped him. "You can't go in now, sir. Please wait." "What's happening? Is she okay?" No one answered. Thomas saw doctors rushing down the hall, equipment being wheeled in hastily. Panic took hold of him. Then came the silence, a silence that lasted an eternity. And then, finally, a cry. Sharp, strong, healthy. Thomas collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down his face. His baby was alive. The door opened, and a nurse came out carrying a small pink bundle. "Congratulations, Dad. It's a girl." Olivia, tiny, red, perfect. Thomas held her for the first time, and the whole world made sense again. "And Sarah? How is she?" The nurse hesitated. "She's okay, but she needs to rest." It was a very difficult delivery. There were some complications. Thomas would spend the next few days at the hospital. Sarah was weak, very weak. The doctors talked about blood loss, about the need for more surgeries. Thomas barely left her bedside, dividing his time between his wife and the baby, sleeping in the nursery. It was only on the third night that Sarah could speak properly. "Size, how is she?" were her first words. "Beautiful, perfect, just like her mother." Sarah smiled, but there was something strange in her eyes, a sadness that Thomas couldn't understand. "I love you," she whispered. "Take good care of her." "We'll take care of her together," Thomas replied, kissing his wife's forehead, but Sarah shook her head slowly. "Promise me you'll take good care of her." "Sarah, you're scaring me. Of course I'll take care of her, but you'll be here too." She closed her eyes, a tear rolling down her face. "Promise." "I promise." Sarah died 2 weeks later. Sepsis, the doctors said. Postpartum complications they couldn't control in time. Thomas was left alone with Olivia. A 2-week-old baby in his arms and a completely uncertain future ahead. But they made it. Slowly, Thomas rebuilt his life. He changed jobs, then changed again, until he managed to start his own business. Olivia grew up, healthy and cheerful, bringing light to the darkest days. Thomas never questioned anything about the birth. He never doubted that Olivia was an only child. Why would he? But now, Thomas went back to bed but remained awake, replaying every detail of those days in the hospital. Was there something he wasn't seeing? Something he hadn't noticed at the time? The silence after Sarah's screams. How long had it lasted? And why did the nurses take so long to show him the baby? And that strange sadness in Sarah's eyes, as if she knew something he didn't. "Promise me you'll take good care of her." Why had she insisted so much on that promise? Thomas got up again, this time going to his home office. He turned on the computer and stared at the blank screen. He needed answers. He needed to know if there was something more to that delivery, something that could explain Olivia's statement. He started searching for the hospital where Olivia was born. He looked for medical records, for ways to access old files. Most websites required documents and authorizations he didn't have, but there were other ways. Thomas remembered some names. The head nurse who had taken care of Sarah, the doctor who delivered the baby. Maybe they still worked at the same hospital. Maybe they remembered something. Maybe they could explain why a boy in the park had the same eyes as Olivia. The sun was rising when Thomas finally made a decision. He needed to go back to the hospital. He needed to talk to whoever was there that night. He needed to find out if there was something about Olivia's birth that he didn't know. Because the doubt was eating away at his mind like acid. What if Olivia was right? What if there really was another baby that night? And what if he had a son he never knew existed? Thomas looked out the office window. Outside, the city was beginning to wake up. In a few hours, Olivia would get up, have breakfast, and ask if they could go back to the park to see the tummy boy. and Thomas would have to decide what to do with the possibility that the entire life he had built was based on a half-truth. He closed the computer and went to take a shower. Today, the investigation would begin. Today, the search for the truth would begin. St. Vincent's Hospital hadn't changed much in 5 years. The same light green painted walls, the same smell of disinfectant, the same long corridors that echoed the sound of shoes. Thomas stood in front of the building, taking a deep breath before entering. He had spent the entire morning trying to find out who from the time of Olivia's birth still worked there. He called the hospital, made up a few excuses, until he got an important piece of information. Margaret Foster, the head nurse of the maternity ward, was still on duty. "Good morning. I'd like to speak with Nurse Margaret Foster." The receptionist looked at him suspiciously. "She's on her shift. Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's about something very important. Personal. I'm sorry, but without an appointment..." Thomas placed his hands on the counter, trying to stay calm. "Please, it's about my wife. She was a patient here 5 years ago. I need information about her delivery." The receptionist hesitated. "You'll need to speak with the medical records department. They can..." "Margaret Foster knows me. She was there when my daughter was born. I just need 5 minutes." Maybe it was the desperation in Thomas's voice, or maybe the receptionist was having a generous day. She picked up the phone. "Margaret, there's a gentleman here at reception who wants to speak with you. He says you know him. What's your name?" "Thomas Miller." "Thomas Miller. It's about a delivery from 5 years ago." A pause. Thomas held his breath. "She'll be down in a few minutes. You can sit over there and wait." Thomas settled into one of the waiting room chairs, the same blue plastic chairs where he had spent agonizing hours 5 years ago. His stomach was in knots. Part of him wanted to run out of there and forget this whole story. But he couldn't. Not after the certainty in Olivia's voice. "Thomas." He looked up. Margaret Foster stood before him, older, with a few grey hairs she didn't have 5 years ago, but with the same kind smile he remembered. "Margaret, thank you for seeing me." "Of course." She looked around the busy reception area. "How about we talk somewhere more private? There's an empty room on the 2nd floor." They went up in silence. Margaret opened a small meeting room and pointed to a chair for Thomas. "How is Olivia? She must be a little lady by now." "She's doing well. 5 years old, beautiful and smart." Margaret smiled. "I'm happy to hear that. And you, how are you handling everything?" "I know it wasn't easy after Sarah. That's what I want to talk about." Margaret frowned. "About Sarah." Thomas took a deep breath. "About the delivery. About that night." The smile vanished from Margaret's face. She settled into her chair, suddenly looking uncomfortable. "What do you want to know?" "It's been a long time. I want to know if there was something I didn't know, something you all didn't tell me." "Thomas, I don't understand where you're going with this." "Margaret, please, I need the truth." She was silent for a long moment, nervously fiddling with her hands. "Why are you asking this now?" "After 5 years. Because my daughter said something that made me question everything." Thomas told her about the park, about the boy, about Olivia's sentence. Margaret listened without interrupting, but Thomas noticed her growing paler as he spoke. "A boy who looks just like Olivia. Identical. The same eyes, the same hair. As if they were twins." The word escaped Margaret's lips like a whisper. Thomas felt his heart stop. "What did you say?" Margaret covered her face with her hands. "Oh God, I always knew this day would come." "Margaret, for God's sake, tell me what happened that night." She lifted her head, her eyes full of tears. "Thomas, I'm so sorry." "Sorry for what?" Margaret stood up and went to the window, turning her back to him. Sarah was pregnant with twins. The words hit Thomas like a punch to the gut. He gripped the chair to keep from falling. "What do you mean, twins?" "2 babies. A boy and a girl." Thomas tried to process the information, but his mind seemed to have shut down. "That's impossible. I was at every appointment. No doctor ever mentioned twins." Margaret turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Because Sarah asked them not to tell you." "What?" "She found out at 20 weeks. She made sure it was noted in her medical records as confidential information. Only she could know. Thomas stood up, stumbling. But why would she do that? Why would she hide it from me? Because you had no money, Thomas. You could barely support yourselves. Sarah was terrified at the thought of raising 2 babies. But we would have managed. I would have worked more, done anything. She knew that, but she also knew how much you were already struggling financially. Thomas leaned against the wall, feeling his legs weaken. So what did she do? Margaret took a deep breath before continuing. She came to me 2 weeks before the delivery. She said she had made a decision. What decision? That one of the babies would be given to another family. No. Thomas's shout echoed through the small room. Margaret flinched but continued. There was a family on the adoption list, a couple who couldn't have children with a good financial situation. Sarah thought it would be best for one of the babies. Thomas felt the world spinning around him. Are you telling me I have a son who was given up for adoption without my knowledge? Thomas, please, try to understand. Sarah was desperate. She believed she was doing the right thing. The right thing. Thomas slammed his fist on the table. Giving away my son without me knowing was the right thing. Margaret began to cry harder. I begged her to tell you. I told her you had the right to know. But she was determined. And you did it? You really gave my son away? The boy was born first, healthy, crying loudly. Sarah looked at me and just shook her head. I knew what that meant. Thomas sat down again, his head in his hands. My son, I had a son and I never knew. The family that took him was in the next room. Everything had been arranged beforehand. They had even chosen a name. What name? Margaret hesitated. Liam. Thomas felt a chill run through his entire body. Liam? Thomas, I've carried this guilt for 5 years. Not a day goes by that I don't wonder if we did the right thing. And Sarah, did she regret it? I think so. In her last days, before she died, she cried a lot. She kept repeating that you had to take good care of Olivia, that you were a wonderful father. Thomas slowly lifted his head. How did she know she was dying? I think she sensed it, and I think she was afraid that you would find out the truth and not forgive her. Thomas was silent for a long time. Margaret approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. Thomas, I know this is shocking, but you need to understand that Sarah did it thinking it was for the best. He looked at her, his eyes red. The boy from the park? Liam, is he 5 years old? He should be, yes. And he looks like Olivia. If they're twins, it's natural for them to look alike. Thomas stood up, determined. I need to find him. Thomas, wait. Think carefully about what you're doing. This family has raised the boy as their own. It won't be easy. He's my son, Margaret. My son. She nodded, understanding. I know, and you have every right to want to meet him. Thomas stopped at the door. Do you know who adopted him? Margaret hesitated once more. Karen Thompson. She was single at the time, worked as a cleaner at the hospital. She always wanted to have a child. Where does she live? Thomas, where does she live? Margaret sighed. At the time, she lived in the apartments at the Oak Street housing complex. I don't know if she's still there. Thomas nodded and left the room without looking back. His mind was a whirlwind, but one thing was clear. For the first time in 5 years, he believed the boy in the park could really be his son, his lost son, Liam. The Oak Street housing complex was on the other side of town. Thomas drove for 40 minutes, passing from the wealthy neighborhood where he lived to an area he hadn't visited in years. The streets were narrower, the houses simpler, but everything seemed clean and well kept. He parked the car in front of building number 156 and checked the address on the paper one more time. Apartment 3B, Karen Thompson. His heart was racing. In a few hours, his life had been turned upside down. Now he was about to meet the woman who had raised his son for the last 5 years. Thomas walked up the stairs, noticing the building was old but well maintained. There were flower pots in the windows, children playing in the inner courtyard. It was a simple place, but it had life. He stopped in front of apartment 3B and took a deep breath before knocking on the door. Footsteps approached from the other side. Who is it? The voice was female, cautious. My name is Thomas Miller. I'd like to speak with Ms. Karen Thompson. A long pause. About what? Thomas hesitated. How could he explain something like this through a closed door? It's about something very important, personal. Please, I just need a few minutes. He heard the sound of chains and locks. The door opened just a crack, held by the security chain. A woman appeared in the gap. She must have been in her 40s, with brown hair tied in a simple ponytail and brown eyes that analyzed him with suspicion. I don't know any Thomas Miller. Do you know Margaret Foster from St. Vincent's Hospital? Karen's face changed immediately. The suspicion turned into something close to panic. What does Margaret have to do with this? Please, may I come in? It's about your son. My son. The voice came out louder than she intended. Karen quickly glanced to the sides, checking if the neighbors were listening. Liam didn't do anything wrong. I know. It's not that. Please, just give me 5 minutes. Karen studied him for another moment, then closed the door to remove the chain. When she opened it again, she gestured for him to enter. The apartment was small, but cozy. The living room had a faded blue sofa, a coffee table with a few magazines stacked on it, and an old television on a wooden stand. On the wall, several photos of a smiling child, Liam. Thomas felt a lump in his throat seeing the pictures. A newborn baby, first steps, birthdays, 5 years of a life he had missed. Sit down. Want some coffee? Thank you. Karen went to the kitchen, which was connected to the living room. Thomas could see her preparing the coffee, her hands shaking slightly. Salikam's not home, she said without looking at him. He's at the neighbors. She watches him when I work. Where do you work? Cleaning. 3 houses during the week, offices on the weekend. Karen returned with 2 cups and sat in the armchair across from him, keeping her distance. Now explain to me who you are and what you want with my son. Thomas put the cup down on the table without drinking. Karen, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible. Try me. He took a deep breath. I believe that Liam is my son. Karen sat motionless for a few seconds, then let out a bitter laugh. Are you crazy? Liam is my son. I adopted him when he was a newborn. I know. From St. Vincent's Hospital, Margaret Foster arranged the adoption. Karen's face turned pale. How do you know that? Because my wife gave birth to twins that same night, a girl and a boy. She decided to give the boy up for adoption without telling me. That's ridiculous. My daughter's name is Olivia. She's 5 years old, the same age as Liam. Thomas took his wallet out of his pocket and pulled out a photo of Olivia. He handed it to Karen, who hesitated before taking it. When she saw the image, her expression changed completely. Oh my God! In the photo, Olivia was smiling at the camera, her blue eyes shining, her blonde hair messy from the wind. It was impossible not to notice the resemblance to the photos of Liam on the wall. They're identical, Karen whispered. Twins. Karen handed the photo back with trembling hands. Even if this is true, what do you want? Liam has been my son for 5 years. I raised him, took care of him when he was sick, taught him how to walk, to talk. I didn't come here to take him from you. You didn't? Thomas saw the fear in her eyes and felt his heart ache. Karen, Liam is your son. You are his mother in every way that matters. I have no right to change that. Then what do you want? I just want to know him, to be a part of his life. Karen got up and started pacing the room. You don't understand. I'm afraid of losing him. He's all I have. And I don't want to take that from you, I swear. How can I be sure? You have money, a big house. You can give him things I'll never be able to. Thomas stood up too. Karen, look at me. She stopped and faced him. I don't want to take him from you. I just want to know him and be a part of his life. You will always be his mother. What if you change your mind? What if you decide you want him for yourself? That won't happen. How can I trust the word of a stranger? Thomas understood her position. If he were in Karen's shoes, he would probably react the same way. Because I know what it's like to lose someone you love. My wife died when Olivia was 2 weeks old. I raised her alone, and I know how scary the thought of someone trying to take your child from you is. Karen studied him for a long moment. Did Margaret really say you're the biological father? Yes, she told me the whole story. And your wife? Did she really ask to give Liam up? Yes. She thought we couldn't raise 2 children. Karen sat down again, her shoulders slumped. I always wondered about the biological parents, if they would ever regret it. Karen, I didn't know he existed until this morning. If I had known, what would you have done? I would have fought to keep them both. She nodded slowly. Liam sometimes asks about his father. What do you tell him? That his father had to go away, but that he loved him very much. Thomas felt his eyes well up. Can I meet him? Karen was silent for a long time. He's happy here. He's a cheerful, playful child. He loves to draw and run in the park. Riverside Park? How do you know? That's where I saw him for the first time. Olivia said he was in her tummy with her. Karen's eyes widened. She said that. She did. And when I looked at him, I saw the resemblance immediately. So you've already interacted with him? No. When I tried to approach, he got scared and ran away. Karen sighed. He's wary of strangers, especially men. Why? Because he's never had a father figure. It's just been me and him from the start. Thomas leaned forward. Karen, I don't want to mess up your lives, but he's my son and I have a daughter who apparently remembers him. Can't we at least try? Try what? Let them meet. See if there really is a connection. Karen stood up and went to the window, looking out at the courtyard where children were playing. What if it goes wrong? What if Liam gets confused, doesn't understand? Then we stop, simple as that. Nothing is simple when it comes to children. I know. But Karen, they're siblings. Twins. Maybe they have the right to know each other. She turned to him. If I agree to this, do you promise you won't try to take Liam from me? I promise. And if I decide it's not working, will you respect that? I will. Karen looked once more at the photo of Olivia, which was still on the coffee table. She really does look like him. They're twins. All right, she said finally, but let's go slow, very slow. Thomas felt a huge sense of relief. Thank you, Karen. Don't thank me yet. This could go very wrong. Or it could go very right. Karen looked at him with an expression that mixed hope and fear. That's what scares me. 3 days had passed since the conversation in Karen's apartment. 3 days of Thomas trying to find the right words to explain to Olivia that she had a brother. 3 days of Karen changing her mind every hour. On Thursday morning, Thomas called her, I'm Karen, it's Thomas. Hi, her voice was tense. Do you still want to do this? A long pause. I don't know. I was up all night thinking, maybe it's better to leave things as they are. Thomas felt his heart sink. Karen, please, just one meeting. If it doesn't work out, I'll never bother you again. And what if it does work out? What if Liam starts asking questions I can't answer? Then we'll answer them together. Another silence. How about this afternoon, at Riverside Park at 3 o'clock? Thomas, please, give them a chance. Karen sighed deeply. All right, but if I see that Liam is uncomfortable, we're leaving. Of course. Thank you, Karen. Thomas hung up and turned to Olivia, who was playing with her dolls in the living room. Olivia, come here. Daddy needs to talk to you. She dropped her dolls and ran to him, climbing onto the sofa. Do you remember the boy from the park? The one you said was in your tummy with you? Olivia's blue eyes lit up. I remember. He was cute. Why did he run away when you went to talk to him? Thomas chose his words carefully. Because he didn't know me. And you were right about him being in the tummy with you. I was. Yes, he's your brother. Olivia tilted her little head, processing the information. Like Sarah from school, who has a little brother. Exactly. Except you two are the same age because you were born on the same day. Twins. That's right, you're twins? Olivia smiled, but then looked confused. But where has he been all this time? Why didn't he live with us? Thomas took a deep breath. How do you explain something so complex to a 5-year-old? When you were born, Mommy was very sick. She was afraid she couldn't take care of 2 babies at the same time. So she asked a very nice woman to take care of your brother. And now he's going to come live with us. No, Princess. He has a mom who takes care of him and loves him very much. But you can get to know each other and play together. Olivia thought for a moment. What's his name? Liam. Liam, she repeated, testing the name. That's a nice name. How about we go to the park to meet him this afternoon? Okay, I'll bring my toys to share with him. Thomas smiled. If only it were always as simple as in a child's mind. At 3 o'clock sharp, Thomas and Olivia arrived at Riverside Park. Olivia was carrying a bag with some of her favorite toys, cars, little figures, and a coloring book. Daddy, are they here yet? Thomas looked around and saw Karen approaching, holding Liam's hand. The boy walked slowly, clearly reluctant. There they are. Olivia followed her father's gaze and saw Liam. Her face lit up immediately. It's him. It's the tummy boy. She started to wave, but Thomas gently held her hand. Easy, Olivia. Remember, he's shy. Let's take it slow. Karen stopped a few feet away. Liam hid behind her, peeking at Thomas and Olivia with a mix of curiosity and fear. Hi, Karen. Hi. Thomas knelt down to Liam's level. Hi, Liam. I'm Thomas. The boy didn't answer, clinging tighter to Karen's leg. Liam, Karen said softly, this is the man I told you about. And this is Olivia. Olivia took a step forward, smiling. Hi, Liam, I brought you toys. Liam looked at the bag with interest, but didn't move from behind Karen. Thomas felt he needed to be more direct, but gentle. Liam, can I tell you something very special? The boy looked at him attentively. You and Olivia are brother and sister. You were born on the same day, from the same mother. Liam frowned, confused. But my mum is Karen. Yes, and she will always be your mum. But you also have a sister, and I'm the father of you both. The concept was too complicated for a 5-year-old. Liam looked at Karen, seeking confirmation. It's true, sweetie. You have a sister. A sister. Olivia couldn't contain herself any longer. Liam, I'm your sister, and you're my brother. I knew it. I remembered you. She ran towards him but stopped when she saw him shrink back even further. Thomas put his hand on Olivia's shoulder. Remember what we talked about? Slow. Olivia nodded and approached more slowly. Liam, want to see the toys I brought? She opened the bag and took out a blue toy car. This one makes a motor sound. Look. She pressed a button and the car made a honking sound. Liam smiled for the first time. Cool. Want to play? Liam looked at Karen, who nodded encouragingly. You can go, sweetie. I'll be right here. Liam slowly let go of Karen's leg and approached Olivia. Can I hold it? Of course. It's ours now. My toys are your toys too. Liam took the car carefully, as if it was something precious. He pressed the horn and laughed when the sound came out. Want to see the others? For the next 15 minutes, Thomas and Karen watched something magical happen. Liam gradually lost his shyness. Olivia, with her welcoming nature, quickly made him feel at ease. They started by chasing the car that Olivia pushed down a small hill. Liam laughed when the car hit a tree, and Olivia found his laugh the funniest thing in the world. Do it again. Do it again. Let's push it together this time. They climbed the small park hill, each holding one side of the car. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. The car tumbled down, and the two children ran after it, shouting with joy. Thomas looked at Karen. She had tears in her eyes. They really seem like they've known each other for years, she whispered. Twin connection, Thomas replied, also emotional. Liam and Olivia found the car at the base of the tree and decided to explore other parts of the park. Olivia showed him the swings, the slide, the seesaw. Let's play on the seesaw. I've never played on one. It's easy. You sit on one side, I sit on the other, and we go up and down. They got on the seesaw, Olivia patiently explaining how it worked. When I go down, you go up. When you go down, I go up. Liam laughed as he was launched upwards for the first time. Again. Thomas and Karen drew closer, sitting on a nearby bench to watch. Look at them, Karen said, her voice thick with emotion. The children played on the seesaw for a few more minutes, then went to the swings. Olivia taught Liam how to pump his legs to go by himself. Lean back when the swing comes forward. That's it. I'm doing it. Now let's see who can go higher. They swung side by side, competing playfully, laughing every time one managed to go a little higher than the other. That's when Olivia stopped her swing and ran to the bag of toys. Liam, come see this. She took out the coloring book and colored pencils. Let's draw. They sat on the grass, the book between them. Olivia opened it to a blank page. "What do you want to draw?" "I don't know." "How about our family?" Liam looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Me, you, Daddy, and Aunt Karen." The word daddy made Liam look towards Thomas, then back at Olivia. "Is he my daddy too?" "He is. We both have the same daddy." Liam processed this information, then nodded. "Okay, let's draw." Olivia took a pink pencil and started drawing two small figures. "This is me, and this is you. I don't have pink hair." "Oh, right, your hair is just like mine." She picked up the yellow pencil and colored Liam's hair. "There. Now we're the same." Liam took a blue pencil and started drawing two larger figures. "This is Daddy and this is Mommy Karen." "Mommy Karen?" "Yeah, she's my mom." Olivia thought for a moment. "So you have a mom, and I don't, but we both have the same daddy." "Why don't you have a mom?" "Because she went to heaven when I was born." Liam looked sad. "It must be bad not having a mum." "Sometimes, but Daddy takes good care of me." Liam looked over at Thomas, who was talking quietly with Karen. "He seems nice." "He is. He's the best dad in the world." "And Karen is nice too. She makes pancakes on Sundays." "I love pancakes. Daddy doesn't know how to make them." "Maybe Karen can teach him." Olivia smiled. "Or maybe she can make pancakes for both of us." They continued drawing, adding details to the family picture. A house, a smiling sun, flowers in the garden. "It looks nice," Liam said when they finished. "You can have it as a present." "Really?" "Of course, we're siblings. Siblings share everything." Liam smiled and hugged the paper to his chest. "Thanks." Thomas and Karen watched the entire scene, deeply touched. "They're so natural together," Karen murmured. "It's like they were never apart." "That scares me, Thomas." "Why?" Karen turned to him. "Because he's getting attached, and so are you and Olivia. What if this doesn't work out? What if it's too complicated?" "Karen, he's all I have. I can't risk losing him." Thomas saw the genuine fear in her eyes. "You won't lose him, never." "How can I be sure?" Thomas stopped watching the children and focused on Karen. "Because I understand what you're feeling. When Sarah died, I was terrified that someone would try to take Olivia from me, that they would say I wasn't capable of raising her alone. And were you? It was hard, very hard, but I managed, and you managed with Liam too." Karen wiped away a tear that had escaped. "He's such a good boy, smart, affectionate. I wouldn't know how to live without him. And you won't have to. You will always be his mother. I just want to give Liam the same opportunities Olivia has." "What opportunities?" "Education, experiences, financial security, things that might be hard for you to provide alone." Karen was silent for a moment. "You want to help financially?" "I want to help in every way I can, but without taking your place." "What if he starts to see me differently? What if he wants to live with you?" Thomas placed his hand on her arm gently. "Karen, look at him. See how he looks at you." They watched Liam, who had stopped drawing and was looking in their direction. When he saw Karen looking, he waved and smiled. "Mommy, come see the drawing. See, to him you are his mother, and you always will be. I just want to be an addition to his life, not a replacement." Karen took a deep breath. "That's very generous of you." "It's not generosity, it's reality. Liam has had a mother for the last 5 years. He's had love, care, dedication. I have no right to come in now and try to change that." "So what do you want exactly?" Thomas looked at the children, who were now playing hide-and-seek behind the trees. "I want to be a part of his life. I want him to know Olivia, for them to grow up knowing their siblings. I want to help with school, doctors, everything a child needs. I want to be a father to him, but respecting that you are his mother." "And what if it doesn't work out?" "Then we try again, differently." Karen watched Liam find Olivia behind a tree. They both laughed and switched places in the game. "Look at them. It's like they've been playing together their whole lives." Maybe they were before they were born. Karen smiled for the first time that afternoon. "Do you believe that?" "I do now. after seeing how Olivia recognized him immediately. The children ran towards them. "Daddy, Aunt Karen, look what we found." Liam and Olivia were holding some flowers they had found. "They're for you," Liam said shyly, offering a flower to Thomas. "For me." Olivia said, "You're my daddy too." Thomas felt a lump in his throat as he took the flower. "Thank you, Liam. It's the most beautiful flower I've ever received." Olivia offered the other flower to Karen. "For Liam's mommy. So you'll take good care of my brother." Karen accepted the flower, her eyes welling up. "Thank you, sweetie." The children ran back to their games. Karen looked at Thomas. "Okay, let's try." "Really?" "But slowly, with lots of rules and boundaries." Thomas nodded. "Any rule you want, and if I say it's not working, we'll stop immediately." Karen looked once more at Liam, who was now teaching Olivia how to make boats out of leaves. "He seems happy." "He is happy. It's been a long time since I've seen him so excited about another child. They were meant to be siblings." Karen sighed. "I hope you're right." "Me too." The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange. Thomas knew it was time to leave. "How about we say goodbye for today?" When they called the children, both were disappointed. "Already? But we were having so much fun." "You can play again another day," Karen said. "When?" Thomas and Karen looked at each other. "Azusa," Thomas replied. Liam ran to him. "Can I give you a hug?" Thomas knelt and opened his arms. Liam hugged him quickly, then ran back to Karen. "See you later, Daddy." The word made Thomas's heart race. "See you later, son." Olivia hugged Karen. "Thank you for taking care of my brother. Thank you for sharing your toys with him." On the way home, Olivia wouldn't stop talking. "Daddy, he's just like me. He likes the same toys, laughs at the same things. He even draws like me." "You're twins. Can I see him again tomorrow?" "I don't know, Princess." "We'll see. He called me sister, because that's what you are." Thomas drove, thinking about how natural everything had been. The children connected instantly, as if they had never been separated. But he knew the real challenges were just beginning. A week had passed since the meeting in the park. Thomas called Karen every day, always with some excuse, to see how Liam was, to tell her something Olivia had said about her brother, or simply to stay in touch. "Karen, it's Thomas." "Hi, is everything okay?" "Yes, it is. Actually, I wanted to invite you over." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "What kind of invitation? How about you two come see my house? Olivia wants to show Liam her room, and I thought it might be a good idea." "Thomas, I don't know. Nothing formal, just a simple lunch. Liam can play in the yard, see where Olivia lives." Karen hesitated. She still felt a mix of hope and apprehension every time Thomas suggested something new. "He asked about your house yesterday." "He did? He wanted to know if it was big, if it had toys, if Olivia had her own room." Thomas smiled. "And what did you tell him?" "That maybe one day he could see it." "How about today?" Karen took a deep breath. "All right, but if he gets uncomfortable, we'll leave right away. I promise." Karen held Liam's hand as they walked down the sidewalk of Thomas's neighborhood. The houses were enormous, with well-manicured lawns and expensive cars in the driveways. "Mommy, the houses here are really big." "They are." "Does Daddy Thomas live in one of these?" The word daddy still sounded strange to Karen, but Liam had started using it naturally after the meeting in the park. "He does." They stopped in front of number 247. The house was truly impressive. 2 stories, a stone facade, a front garden with colorful flowers, and a small fountain in the center. "That's the one." Liam's eyes widened. "It's a castle." Karen rang the doorbell, her heart pounding. She felt completely out of place here. The door opened, revealing Thomas in a blue polo shirt and jeans. Behind him, Olivia was jumping with excitement. "Liam, you came!" "Hi, Olivia." The children hugged like old friends who hadn't seen each other in months. Come on, I want to show you everything." "Olivia, let them come inside first," Thomas laughed. He turned to Karen. "Welcome, please, come in." Karen stepped through the door and immediately felt small. The entryway had a high ceiling, with a curved wooden staircase and a crystal chandelier. "Wow," she murmured. "Mommy, look how beautiful it is." Liam was spinning in place, trying to see everything at once. "Liam, want to see my room?" Olivia asked. "Can I?" Olivia looked at Thomas, who nodded. "Of course. But first, how about a tour of the house?" They walked through the living room with its leather sofas and marble fireplace. The dining room had a table that could easily seat 12 people. The kitchen was bigger than Karen's entire apartment. "Wow," Liam whispered every time they entered a new room. "Oh, and this is where we have breakfast," Olivia explained, showing a smaller table near the kitchen window. "Daddy makes pancakes on Sundays." "I love pancakes too. Mommy makes the best in the world." "Maybe one Sunday you can have breakfast here and we can compare," Thomas suggested. Karen looked at him, surprised. He was really trying to include her too, not just Liam. "Now come see the yard," Olivia exclaimed. They went out the back door and Liam was speechless. The yard was immense. There was an area of perfect grass, flower beds, a few fruit trees, and in the right corner, a complete playground with swings, a slide use and a wooden playhouse. "Is this your playground?" "It's ours," Olivia corrected. "Now you can play here too." Liam ran to the swings, Karen and Thomas walking behind him. "This is incredible," Karen murmured. "Olivia kept asking me to build it since she was 3. I might have gone a little overboard." "A little?" Karen laughed. It was the first time Thomas had seen her truly laugh. Liam climbed the slide and came down shouting with joy. "Mommy, come play with me. I'll watch from here, sweetie." "What about you, Daddy Thomas?" Thomas looked at Karen, asking for permission. She nodded. "Of course." Thomas ran to the playground and was soon playing hide-and-seek with the 2 children. Karen sat on a garden bench, watching. There was something deeply touching about seeing Thomas interact with Liam. He didn't force the situation, didn't try to be the father who had missed 5 years. He just played, laughed, and let the connection happen naturally. After an hour of playing in the yard, Olivia insisted on showing Liam her room. "It's very pink," she warned as they climbed the stairs. "But I have toys you'll like too." Olivia's room was indeed a world of pink. Walls, bed, curtains, but it was also filled with books, toys, and games. "Wow, you have a TV in your room." "I use it to watch cartoons before bed. You can watch too when you come over." Liam explored the room with the same awe he had shown for the rest of the house. "Dad, where will I sleep when I come over?" The question caught everyone by surprise. "Well," Thomas said carefully, "there's a guest room across the hall. Can I see it?" They crossed the hall. The guest room was simple but comfortable. A single bed, a desk, a reading chair. Liam sat on the bed and tested its softness. "It's comfy." Thomas knelt down to his level. "Liam, I want you to know something very important." "What?" "This is your house too. You can come whenever you want." The words were spoken with such sincerity that Karen felt her eyes well up. For the first time, she truly believed that Thomas was speaking from the heart. "Really? Really? This is our family's house." "Our family? Yours, mine, Olivia's, and Mommy Karen's too." Liam smiled and hugged Thomas. "Thanks, Daddy." In the following days, the visits became frequent. Karen tried to resist at first, but Liam begged to see Olivia and Daddy Thomas almost every day. "Please, Mommy. Just for a little while." And Karen would end up giving in because she saw how happy Liam was. The children developed their own routines at the house. They would play in the yard until they were tired, then go to Olivia's room to paint or draw. They invented elaborate stories about princesses and dragons, always insisting that Thomas and Karen participate as characters. "I saw today you're the good queen," Olivia declared to Karen one afternoon, "and Daddy is the king who protects the castle." "And we're the twin princes," Liam added. While the children played, Thomas and Karen began to have conversations that gradually deepened. "Das, how do you explain education to him?" Thomas asked one afternoon, as they watched Liam and Olivia build a fort out of cushions. "What do you mean?" "About the importance of studying, of trying hard. Olivia sometimes complains about her homework." Karen smiled. "I tell Liam that studying is like building a house. Every new thing he learns is a brick. In the end, he'll have a strong and beautiful house." "I like that. It's a simple and clear explanation. Sometimes the simple things work better than the complicated ones." Thomas reflected on that. "You're right. I sometimes overcomplicate things with Olivia." "It's normal. You want to give her the best. And you don't want to give Liam the best. Of course I do. But my best is different from yours. Thomas turned to her. What do you mean? Your best is opportunities, experiences, things that money can buy. My best is time, attention, values. You think I can't teach them values? Karen blushed. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry. No, you're right. Sometimes I focus so much on giving them material things that I forget about the rest. They were silent for a moment, watching the children. How do we make this work? Karen asked. Our worlds are so different. Maybe it's good for them to know both worlds. How? Liam can learn that it's possible to have ambition and dream big. Olivia can learn that the most important things in life have no price. Karen looked at him. Do you really believe that? I do. Just look at them. Liam was teaching Olivia how to make a bracelet out of a string he had found in the yard. My mom taught me this, he explained. It's for good luck. I'll wear it forever, Olivia declared. See, Thomas said to Karen. He's teaching her something money can't buy. And she's teaching him that he can dream without limits. Exactly. Karen took a deep breath. Thomas, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you doing this? Really? What do you mean? You could try to get shared custody of Liam. With your financial situation, you'd probably win. Why don't you do it? Thomas became serious. Because I don't want to take him from you. I want him to have what I didn't get a chance to give, which is a mother. Karen felt a lump in her throat. Olivia didn't have a mother, and she's become a wonderful girl. But I see how she gets when she sees other children with their mothers. There's something a father can't replace. And there's something a mother can't replace either. What's that? Karen looked at Liam, who was running through the yard with Olivia. Security. The feeling that nothing will ever be missing, that there will always be someone to protect him. You protect him. I do what I can. But there are limits. Thomas understood what she meant. Karen, I want you to know that I'm not trying to replace you. I know. You really know? She looked at him. At first, I was scared. I thought you were going to try to prove you could take better care of Liam than I could. And now? Karen watched Thomas help Liam reach an apple on the tree in the yard. Now I see that you just want to add good things to his life. Exactly, I want to add, not divide. And that makes me feel safe. I'm glad to hear that, Karen smiled. You know what's funny? What? Liam is happier now than I've ever seen him. Having a sister, having a father. It's completing something I didn't even know was missing. And Olivia too. She always wanted a brother. So maybe we can make this work. I'm sure we can. Liam ran up to them, holding the apple. Mommy, Daddy Thomas helped me get an apple. Can I eat it? Of course, sweetie. He bit into the apple and ran back to play with Olivia. Karen looked at Thomas. You know what else impresses me? What? How naturally all of this happened. The children, us, it's as if it was always meant to be this way. Maybe it always was. Do you believe in destiny? Thomas watched Liam teach Olivia how to climb the tree. I do now. It was a hot July afternoon. Liam and Olivia had been playing in the yard for over 2 hours, making up a story about pirates searching for treasure hidden behind the wooden playhouse. Thomas was making lemonade in the kitchen, while Karen organized the toys the children had scattered around the living room. She was putting some colored pencils into a box when her gaze was drawn to the sideboard next to the fireplace. There were several picture frames there, but one in particular caught her eye. Karen approached slowly. The photo showed a young woman with brown hair and a sweet smile. She was holding a baby, clearly a newborn Olivia. The woman looked happy, but there was something in her eyes that Karen recognized immediately: exhaustion and worry. Sarah, she whispered, did you know my wife? Thomas had appeared behind her, carrying a tray of lemonade. Karen hadn't heard him approach. I think so. Karen picked up the picture frame with trembling hands. What was her name? Sarah Miller. Why? Where did you meet her? Karen sat down heavily on the sofa, still holding the photo. About 6 years ago, I was going through a very difficult time. Thomas put the tray on the table and sat down next to her. What kind of difficulty? I had lost my job. I was pregnant, alone, with no money for food or rent. Pregnant? Karen nodded, her eyes fixed on the photo. I lost the baby at 5 months. That's when everything fell apart. Thomas felt his heart ache. Karen, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. That's why when the opportunity to adopt Liam came up, I didn't think twice. It was like the universe was giving me a second chance. She looked at Thomas. But before that, when I was at rock bottom, your wife helped me. What do you mean? Karen took a deep breath. I was in line at the Methodist Church food bank. It was the first time I ever had to do that, and I was so ashamed. Thomas listened in silence. There was a huge line, and I had been there for hours. I was weak, hungry, and I think I fainted. And Sarah was there. She was volunteering. She was the one who helped me when I fainted. She took me to sit in the shade, gave me water and food. Karen smiled at the memory. She didn't ask questions. She didn't judge me. She just took care of me. That sounds just like her. But it wasn't just that day. Sarah came back 2 weeks later, to my apartment. Thomas frowned. Joyce, how did she know where you lived? I had given my address at the church for the assistance registry. She showed up with bags of food, clothes, and even money for the rent. Sarah did that. She did. And she said something I've never forgotten. What? Karen closed her eyes, remembering. She said, we all need help sometimes. There's no shame in that. One day, when you can, you'll help someone else too. Thomas felt his eyes well up. And she was right. When I got back on my feet, I started volunteering at the same church. That's why you were there when Liam needed a family. Exactly. The social worker knew me from my volunteer work. Karen wiped away a tear that had escaped. Thomas, your wife saved my life. And then she saved Liam's life too, in a way she never even knew. Thomas was silent for a long moment, processing everything. Karen, I need to tell you something. What? When Olivia was born, we were poor. Karen looked at him, surprised. What do you mean? Very poor. I was working 3 jobs. We could barely pay for rent and food. But your house, all of this came later. Much later. Thomas got up and went to the window. In the first few years after Sarah's death, I worked day and night. Sometimes I'd go weeks without seeing Olivia awake. A nanny took care of her while I worked. How did you manage to turn it all around? Luck mostly. An idea I had turned into a small business. The business grew, and suddenly I had money. Thomas turned back to Karen. But at the time Sarah made the decision about Liam, we barely had enough to eat. I understand. Maybe the fear from that time made her decision seem like the only way out. Karen nodded slowly. She was protecting Liam, and you. What do you mean? If you could barely support 1 child, 2 would have been impossible. Thomas sat down next to her again. Do you think Sarah did the right thing? Karen looked out the window where Liam and Olivia were still playing. I think she did what she thought was right at the time, with the information she had, with the fear she felt. And now? What do you think now? Karen smiled. So now I think everything happened as it was supposed to. Why? Because Liam had 5 years of total love, just from me, and Olivia had 5 years of total love, just from you. Now they can have the best of both worlds. Thomas took Karen's hand. Are you angry at Sarah for giving Liam up? How can I be angry at someone who saved me? Who gave me the chance to be a mother? Even knowing she hid it from me. Karen thought for a moment. Thomas, you were very young. You were struggling to survive. If Sarah had told you, what would you have done? I would have insisted on keeping them both, and everyone probably would have suffered more. Thomas sighed. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if things had been different, but they weren't. And look where we are now. They watched the children through the window. Liam was teaching Olivia how to make a wooden sword out of a branch. You know what impresses me the most? Karen said. What? How Sarah continues to bring people together. First, she helped me when I needed it. Then she made sure Liam found a family, and now indirectly she's brought us together. I never thought of it that way. Maybe she knew that one day this would happen. Thomas looked at the photo Karen was still holding. Would you like to keep that picture? Can I? Of course. Liam should know the story of his biological mother, too. Karen hugged the picture frame to her chest. I'll tell him about the woman who helped his adoptive mother take care of him. And I'll tell Olivia about how her mother continued to do good even after she was gone. Outside, the children laughed loudly at some mischief. They're happy, Karen observed. They are. And Sarah would be proud of that. I'm sure she would be. Thomas smiled. You know, for the first time since I found out about Liam, I don't feel angry at Sarah. You shouldn't. She did the best she could. Like you. Like you, too. They sat in a comfortable silence, united by the memory of a woman who had touched both their lives in deep and lasting ways. Thomas, are you sure about this? Karen held the enrollment papers with trembling hands. They were sitting in the principal's office of the private school where Olivia studied, and she still couldn't believe this was happening. I'm sure, Karen. Liam deserves the best education possible. The principal, Mrs. Martinez, smiled as she watched the conversation. She was a woman in her 50s, with grey hair tied in an elegant bun, who had greeted Thomas with the familiarity of someone who had known him for a long time. Mr. Miller, it's wonderful to know that Olivia will have her brother studying here. She always talked about having a twin brother. She did. Oh yes, ever since she started here 2 years ago. She always said she had a brother who lived far away, but that one day they would study together. Karen looked at Thomas, surprised. Did Olivia always know about Liam? No, Thomas replied. She started talking about having a brother long before I found out Liam existed. We just thought it was her imagination. The principal nodded. Children sometimes have a very strong intuition. Olivia was always very certain about it. Karen turned to Liam, who was sitting next to her, swinging his legs in the large chair. What do you think, sweetie? Do you want to go to the same school as Olivia? Liam nodded excitedly. I do, then I can play with her at recess too. The principal laughed. Perfect. We'll put him in the same class as Olivia. Miss, Anna Clark is excellent with children this age. Thomas leaned forward. Mrs. Martinez, there's something else I need to explain about the family situation. Go on. Karen is Liam's adoptive mother. She has always been solely responsible for him. I would like that to be respected at all times. The principal looked at Karen with respect. Of course, I understand completely. Miss Thompson, all school communications will be sent to you as well. Any decision regarding Liam requires your approval. Karen felt her eyes well up. Thank you. And what about the costs? Thomas spoke up. Can't I take care of all the financial aspects? Tuition, school supplies, extracurricular activities. Thomas, Karen began. Karen, please, let me do this. It's the least I can do. The principal finalized the paperwork. Perfect. Liam can start on Monday. How about we take a tour of the school today for him to get acquainted? The school tour was magical for Liam. He saw the library with hundreds of books, the computer lab with computers he had never touched, the science lab with microscopes and experiments. Mommy, look at all the books. That's a lot, sweetie. But what impressed him the most was the playground. It was huge, with playground equipment, a sports court, a garden, and even a small vegetable patch where the children planted vegetables. Is this where Olivia plays every day? It is, the principal replied. And now you'll play here too. They finished the tour in what would be Liam's classroom. It was colorful, with children's drawings on the walls, tables arranged in groups, and a reading corner with cushions. This will be your desk, Ms. Anna Clark showed him, right next to Olivia's. Liam sat in the little chair and smiled. I like it here. Karen stood at the classroom door watching. This school was more beautiful and better equipped than any place she had ever studied. Liam would have opportunities she never imagined she could offer. Karen, is everything okay? Thomas had approached, noticing her expression. It's a lot. A lot, how? So beautiful. So much more than I could ever give him. Thomas placed a hand on her shoulder. But you gave him the most important thing. What's that? Love, care, values. No school can teach that. Karen smiled through her tears. Thank you for including me in all of this. Karen, Liam is your son. I would never make a decision about him without talking to you first. On Monday, Liam woke up at 6 in the morning. Mommy, today is a school day. Karen laughed. 2 weeks ago, he used to complain about going to the public school in their neighborhood. Now he was eager to start at the new school. Calm down, sweetie. It's still early. But Liam was already up, choosing his clothes, combing his hair by himself. Thomas had offered to pick them up by car, but Karen insisted on taking Liam on his first day. It's important to me, she had explained. They arrived at the school at 7:30. Olivia was waiting for them at the entrance, bouncing with excitement. Liam, you came! Come on, I want to introduce you to everyone. She took her brother's hand and pulled him into the school. Karen and Thomas followed, smiling. In the classroom, Ms. Anna Clark welcomed Liam warmly. Good morning, Liam. Welcome, children. We have a new classmate today. The children stopped their activities and looked at Liam with curiosity. This is Liam. He'll be studying with you from today on. Teacher, Olivia raised her hand. Yes, Olivia. Can I introduce him? Of course. Olivia stood up and went to the front of the class, pulling Liam by the hand. Everyone, this is Liam. He's my brother. The children went, ooh, in surprise. Brother, but you don't look that much alike, said a girl with curly hair. And we're twins, Olivia explained proudly. We were born on the same day, but he went to live with Aunt Karen when he was a baby. And now he's going to study here with us. Yes, and at recess, we're going to play together. Liam was red with embarrassment, but smiling. Karen saw the pride in his eyes when Olivia called him her brother. Cool. Come sit with me, called a red-haired boy from the front row. No, sit here, shouted another. Calm down, everyone, the teacher laughed. Liam will sit next to Olivia today to feel more comfortable. Tomorrow you can organize yourselves differently. Liam sat at the desk next to Olivia, who immediately began to show him the school supplies. So these are the colored pencils. They have every color you can imagine. And this is the sketchbook. You can draw anything in here. Karen said goodbye to Liam with a kiss on the forehead. You'll be fine, sweetie. If you need anything, just talk to the teacher. You can go, Mommy. I'm with Olivia. Thomas and Karen left the school together. How are you feeling? Nervous, hopeful, grateful? He'll adapt well. Olivia will take care of him. I know, it's just that he's never been away from me for this long. Do you want me to pick him up at lunchtime, so you can see how it went? Karen smiled. Would you do that? Of course. At 11:30, Thomas was back at the school. He found Liam and Olivia on the playground, playing with a group of other children. Dad! Olivia ran to him and hugged him. How was your morning? It was great. Liam already made friends. Thomas looked over and saw Liam talking excitedly with two boys about toy cars. He looks happy. He is. In gym class, he was the fastest runner. And in art class, he drew an incredible dinosaur. When Liam saw Thomas, he came running. Daddy Thomas, you came. I came to see how your first day went. It was awesome. The teacher is really nice, and the boys are nice too. That's great. And the school food? Good. We had pasta with tomato sauce. Thomas laughed. Sounds like you liked everything. I did. Can I come again tomorrow? Of course you can, every day. In the following weeks, Liam completely adapted to the new routine. He woke up early every day, was meticulous with his uniform, and always had stories to tell about school. Karen noticed changes in him. He was more confident, more talkative, more curious about the world. The teacher sent notes home praising his progress and his ease of learning. He's very smart, Anna Clark said, in a meeting with Karen and Thomas. He has a knack for numbers and loves science class. He's always been curious, Karen commented with pride. And he gets along very well with the other children. Olivia helped him a lot in his adaptation, but now he has his own friends too. One afternoon, Thomas was working in the garden when he heard shouts of joy coming from the playground. Olivia and Liam had arrived from school and run straight outside to play. Karen was in the kitchen preparing a snack for them. Dad! Dad! Thomas stopped pruning the flowers and looked towards the voice. Liam was running in his direction, carrying something in his hands. Dad, look what I can do. The word Dad, without the Thomas, that always came with it, made Thomas's heart stop for a second. Liam reached him and showed a perfectly folded paper airplane. "I learned in school today. The science teacher taught us." He threw the airplane in, which flew in a perfect arc before landing near the fountain. "I did it. I made it fly." Thomas stood still, tears starting to stream down his face. The word "Dad" echoed in his mind. "Dad, why are you crying? Didn't you like the plane?" Thomas knelt down and hugged Liam with all his strength, unable to speak. "Dad, I loved the plane, son, I loved it." "Then why are you crying?" "Because I'm very happy." Olivia had seen the scene and ran to join the hug. "Group hug, group hug." She threw herself on top of them, making everyone laugh through their tears. From the kitchen window, Karen watched the scene. She didn't feel jealousy or fear. She felt a deep peace filling her heart. Liam had called Thomas Dad for the first time, and she didn't feel diminished by it. She felt complete, because she finally understood that she hadn't lost a son. She had gained a family. 6 months later, Thomas woke to the sound of laughter coming from the yard. It was 7 in the morning on a Saturday, and apparently Liam and Olivia were already playing outside. He smiled, remembering how everything had changed since that day at the park. The routine had settled in naturally, as if it had always been this way. Karen still lived in her apartment at the housing complex. She insisted on it, but now it was only a 15-minute drive from Thomas's house. Liam spent 3 afternoons a week at Thomas's house every Saturday morning, and they took turns taking him to school. The children had their own rhythms. Olivia liked to show off her toys and invent games, while Liam brought his scientific curiosity and love for building things. Karen had found security and dignity. She no longer had to worry if she could afford the doctor if Liam got sick. But more importantly, Thomas never made her feel like she was receiving charity. He included her in every decision, respected her opinions, and treated her like real family. Thomas went down to the kitchen and found Karen making pancakes. "Good morning. You're here early today." "They both woke up at 6, she laughed. "Liam insisted he wanted to make a special breakfast for you." "Special for what reason?" "I don't know. He said he had a surprise." At that moment, Liam and Olivia ran in through the back door, bringing a gust of joy into the house. "Dad, you're awake!" Liam ran to him. "Good morning, champ. I hear you have a surprise for me." "I do. But first, come eat pancakes." They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Thomas used to have breakfast alone, reading the newspaper in silence. Now it was full of life, laughter, and lively conversation. "Dad, tell that story about the dog you found on the street," Olivia asked. While Thomas told the story, Karen watched the scene. There was something deeply comforting in these moments. The simplicity of a family breakfast, the children listening attentively, the genuine smiles that were priceless. "And here's the surprise," Liam suddenly shouted, interrupting the story. Olivia ran to the living room and came back with a large sheet of paper. "We made it together," she explained, handing the drawing to Thomas. It was a colorful drawing showing 4 figures holding hands in front of a big house. There were flowers in the garden, a smiling sun, and below, in crooked but neat letters, was written, "Our family." Thomas felt a lump in his throat. "It's the 4 of us," Liam explained, pointing to each figure. "Hayu, me, Olivia, and Mommy Karen." "Mommy Karen." Thomas looked at Karen, who blushed. "It was their idea," she hurried to explain. "But you're Liam's mum, and now you're our family too," Olivia interrupted. "So you're Mommy Karen to both of us." Thomas smiled, touched by the children's naturalness. "I think that makes perfect sense." They spent the morning in the yard. The children proudly showed off the treehouse, which was actually more of a creative jumble of branches and leaves. "It's our secret base," Liam explained. "Only family can come in." Thomas and Karen sat on the garden bench, watching the children play. "Are you happy?" Thomas asked quietly. Very," Karen answered without hesitation. "And you?" "Complete. For the first time in my life, I feel complete." Lunch was simple. Pasta with tomato sauce, salad, and orange juice. Nothing fancy, but made with love by Karen, with the help of the children. Thomas looked around the table as everyone ate and talked. Liam was telling a story about a science project at school. Olivia was demonstrating new dance moves. Karen laughed at the children's antics. It was perfect in its simplicity. "Dad," Liam said suddenly, "why don't you and Mommy Karen live in the same house?" The question caught everyone by surprise. "Is it because you're not married?" Olivia asked. "Say it's complicated, Princess," Thomas replied. "It doesn't seem complicated," Liam observed. "You like each other? We like both of you." Thomas and Karen looked at each other, both blushing. "Maybe one day," Karen said gently. "But for now, this is nice, isn't it?" "It is," Liam nodded. "Then I was just curious." After lunch, Thomas went to get the family photo album. "How about we take an official photo of our family?" he suggested. "Yes!" the children shouted in unison. They posed in the yard, near the rose bush that Sarah had planted years ago. Thomas set up the camera on a tripod and programmed the timer. "Everyone ready?" "Smile!" The flash went off, capturing the four of them smiling genuinely. Karen with Liam on her lap, Thomas with his hand on Olivia's shoulder, all of them radiant with happiness. Later, while the children were watching television, Thomas printed the photo and placed it carefully in the family album. Karen was beside him, watching. "It's a beautiful picture," she said. "It's the most important picture I've ever taken." Thomas flipped through the pages of the album, passing by photos of baby Olivia, of his first years as a single father. "Look how everything makes sense now," he said, pointing to an old photo of Olivia playing alone in the yard. "She always looked like she was waiting for someone. Now I know she was waiting for Liam," Karen smiled, "and Liam always seemed like he knew he had a bigger family somewhere out there." Thomas closed the album and looked at Karen with gratitude. "Thank you." "For what?" "For taking care of him all these years, for letting me be a part of your lives, for giving me a family." "Thank you," Karen replied with emotion. "For including me in everything, for not trying to take him from me." That night, after Karen and Liam had gone home, Thomas put Olivia to bed. "Dad." "Yes, Princess. I'm so happy that Liam came back." "Came back?" "From the tummy. Remember I said he was in the tummy with me?" Thomas smiled. "I remember perfectly. Now we're all together again." "Yes, we are, and forever." "Forever." Thomas went down to the living room and sat on the sofa, reflecting on everything that had happened. The past had carried pain and secrets. Sarah's death, the twins' separation, years of loneliness for him and Karen. But the past had also paved the way for unexpected new beginnings. Liam had found a dedicated mother in Karen, and now also had a present father. Olivia had found the brother she always knew existed. Karen had found security, dignity, and a family. And Thomas had discovered that love doesn't diminish when it's divided. It multiplies infinitely. He looked at the new photo in the album, the four of them smiling together. Finally, a complete family. The true bond wasn't in wealth, in the material opportunities he could offer. It was in the love lived in the present. In the noisy breakfasts, the afternoons in the yard, the tight hugs, the shared laughter. It was in the certainty that, no matter what happened, they would be together forever. The past may carry pain and secrets, but it also paves the way for new beginnings. The true bond is not in wealth, but in the love lived in the present. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.